Hello and welcome to another Ready podcast. Today I have Rob with me and a special guest, Faizaan, and myself, Elia. And today we have a special episode for you. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff, especially India, English in there, and what my friend here does for a living. So maybe we can start with that. So could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello guys, my name is Faizaan and I typically go by Faiz. So I'm from India, from the South India to be precise, and Bengaluru is my city, which is also Silicon Valley for the whole India.
In India, let's say where you're from, is it different? Like, what would you say is the biggest cultural differences between where you are now compared to the rest of, the Indian places?
Well, the globalization is real, so India is pretty much a fast developing nation. So we are getting to see like a lot of Western culture and influence actually building upon in our city, uh, from everything like the education to like architecture and the infrastructure, food, and everything, entertainment, everything. So
That kind of brings us into your profession. So I know you do a lot of like design, especially interior stuff. Could you please go through that? I think that's really interesting. We've talked about that before, but I really want to know more.
yeah, I do designing for a living. So I basically do 3D visualization in interiors and also architecture. So it was kind of like a hobby and an interest. And I had also specialized in game designing and development before that.
Okay.
And yes, interior design is what I love. And there is a specific genre of interior designs that I love, that is Scandinavian. And I'm pretty sure it's from
Easy.
your place. So
Yep.
Okay. Guys, if you don't mind, I'm kind of curious about, now you're into this designing. Now, does this start with pen and paper, or is it all software? Do you use 3D printers? Like how in depth do you go with the designing process, and what do you use to design?
Um, well, it always starts with an idea in the head. So, an idea strikes, you put it down on a pen and paper, then it follows onto the software. So, we usually have like different, in a pipeline, we have different sectors, right? So, first it starts with the mood board, the planning,
Hmm.
the storytelling, and everything goes on there. Then it comes onto the software part where you have to like start with a 2D plan, like a two-dimensional top-down plan, and then it moves on to the 3D perspective. So once you have the 2D plan ready, you move to the 3D part where you model everything, and you basically visualize how the scene would look in a three-dimensional view. Then you also have like the texturing part, which defines the model which you have done. Like, for an example, if you wanted the walls to be brick, or you wanted to have like an industrial design, an industrial concept, or maybe you wanted some contemporary design. So everything, all the textures and everything comes into the next part of modeling. And there, the next part would be lighting, so that you can actually see how the light actually reflects everything around you and giving the scene um, a life, bringing life to the scene with the lighting. So after everything is done, next part comes as rendering, because usually you give an output to the client, right? Like, this is your view, this was your imagination, we have put this into a perspective and given it some life. So we do the rendering part in the end, and the last part is composition. So like every other thing, we give it a nice little touch up, and we present it to the client. So that is how the work process actually goes.
Okay.
And some architectural firms usually use like 3D printing now.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to the 3D printing part, and it is really efficient and really nice to see like your whole plan right in front of you before it is even complete. So hats off to the technology we have now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was curious about that because you mentioned at one point saying how like you get that sense of accomplishment, or that sense of like it's real, I did it, when something comes to life after a certain stage. And I have a history with animation, going to university for animation. And you start with a blank piece of paper, and like how you described, it starts with an idea, and then taking notes, and then drawing sketches, and then it evolves into picture after picture after picture. And then when you're finally done after a big tedious process, you created something, you brought something to life. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, I mean that's actually fun, right? You talk about animation, and it actually takes me back to my childhood,
Right.
where I used to draw a character on the first page,
Mm-hmm.
and it used to be like a Flickr book. I think so. You may have done it too.
Yeah, flip
Right.
books and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
flip
absolutely.
books, yeah.
Yep.
So that is the inception of animation. Like, you wanted to do something, you like roll down a few pages, and whatever you have drawn, like it moves. So that's kind of accomplishment in the childhood. And now the animation is a different thing for me.
Mhm.
So I also do animation in the visualization that I do.
Right.
We usually call them walkthroughs, like the 3D walkthroughs we have.
Oh, okay.
And animations actually take a lot of time to
Yeah.
render, because each frame has to be rendered. And usually the scene, it actually depends on how big the scene is. Like, if you have a really huge scene, if you're going for an aerial shot and you don't need much detail, it's just like some landscaping around, and it doesn't need much detail or the focus. But an interior shot might actually have like heavy detailed objects, which can like really take the VRAM and everything, the memory. So if we actually go for an interior walkthrough, one frame might actually take you an hour to render.
Wow.
And just imagine if you have like 1000 plus frames just for a 10-second
Yeah.
shot or something like that. It's insane. And you need to actually rely on render farms, which are these rendering services that people do, and they have like huge servers which can handle that kind of load.
Yeah, it could
That's
take
crazy.
days. Yeah, absolutely.
So all of you guys watching animation or some kind of animation out there, you better be you better be happy with what you're seeing. 'Cause it took time.
I mean, you gotta give show respect where respect is due, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. Sure, maybe you hit a button and now it's rendering, but like, God forbid if something went wrong in the process and you have to start over, which happens. It happens. So you're rendering something for like 48 hours and you're almost done, and then there's like a power outage. It's real, man. You gotta respect these people for what they
no.
go through. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Crazy.
I honestly can say that, because in India, like, we have like unpredictable power cuts. Like, we are not actually notified or given a heads up about it. Like, it's just random. It can like go the next minute, and we wouldn't know.
That's crazy. So actually, that's interesting. You say, because I want to ask you, what's the biggest challenge in the industry you're facing today, like in India, and what's different to other countries in the same industry? So as we talked about, you might need like data farms or whatever, but a single person might not have that. So how is it for you, and how you're working in the whole Indian market?
Well, there are a couple of challenges right now in Indian market. Is that, I mean, usually when we actually purchase software, the pricing is usually more focused towards the West, and the economy of India, and how the Indian designers are being paid here is like 1:50 ratio. So
Wow.
if people are like charging $200 a month for a subscription, for an example, so I cannot actually afford that. Being in India, I cannot afford that because that's not normal for me. It's not a normal pricing for me, and I can't actually afford those services. So that's one big challenge about the pricing, how things are priced for the Western audience and for us, or the consumers, I must say. So the pricing is a big difference. And second part is how much we are earning. Like if I pick up a client and I possibly like charge him the way that someone, an artist in Europe or maybe in North America is charging, so they might actually charge a client for an image that is like $500, for example. But if I do the same amount of work in India, I barely can even touch like $50 mark because the client is not ready to pay, and the economy is not the same like how it is there. I know the cost of living is different than what it is here, but still the pay gap is really absurd here. And for that reason, the real challenge comes up. It's like the artists are actually downselling themselves for this reason, for the amount of competition we have in the market. It's like I can do this work, the amount of quality of work that I do, the same might actually not be available in the other artists, right? They might actually do a little compromised work, and they might actually be charging a client half the price that I do. And it's basically they're like downselling their own art, and this has actually led to like a massive gamble in pricing for the rendered images. So I have had like clients, like if I charge them like one client, I charge like 4,000 Indian rupees per image, and the client tells me that there is someone who is ready to do it for 1,500 Indian rupees for the image.
Right.
But I say like, you can see my work. My work is this, and I have certain quality in my work. But he's like, I just need a presentation. Just give me whatever. I'll just take the 1,500 one. So those are the real challenges that actually come out, and we face them.
Are these
almost every project?
Okay. Are these mostly like Western customers, or are these like from India too?
No, this is just basically the comparison. I mean, clients are almost the same in every part of the world. So there are like really good clients who know exactly what they want and what they're going to get for the amount they pay. So, but here in India, it's like there is a difference in the mentality of the West to here. So in India, people want like the best for the cheapest amount.
Yeah.
Which is really not possible. So.
It's not, and a lot of companies and people who are just not in that like industry don't realize that, where, you know, if you want something good, you gotta pay for it usually, right? As an artist, being like working as a freelancer at times, it's hard because a lot of people, either you know someone to get a job, or you have to like just be really, really cheap to the point where it's like unfair for you because of that competition and things like that. So yeah, once again, it's insane to hear that much, like to hear that difference in India. But I feel like most of the world is like suffering from this kind of weird mentality where it's like, I want it cheap and I want it good, just give it to me. And it's not, you know, it's not plausible. It's not reasonable. It doesn't work that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a term called cheap and best.
Cheap and best.
Cheap and best. That's what we call locally here. It's a term, an Indian term.
Mhm.
So it's called cheap and best. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You don't get the best for the cheapest price. And if you want something really good, just spend the money. You will actually get it good. And also, what amazes me is like people, when it is actually on the MRP, it's maximum retail price, right? So if something is printed on a piece of paper on a certain thing you buy, all right, people are ready to pay that. They don't demand, they don't discount or anything, they don't bargain on it. But why actually bargain on art? They always, like, the clients I get, most of them actually bargain on the price. We have a negotiation on that. It's not like we have a fixed thing to do. I can't actually set a fixed price either, because it depends on project to project, and
Exactly.
it also depends on the scale of the project. So
Right.
I think the biggest issue, like I've been seeing this a lot lately on the internet, and like artists posting about their issues, their problems, I guess, of what's happening. I think most artists are not taken seriously enough, because everyone looks at art and they're like, wow, that's beautiful. And they're like, yeah, I'll pay, whatever for that. And it might be a lot less what it's called, because they're like, yeah, but it takes you an hour to make it. So why is it so expensive? Well, until that point, it takes an hour. How much time and dedication and sweat and tears have you actually put down to perfect your craft, right? So that's why when Rob does most of the things for our company, the design and stuff. And for me being me, I'm like, Rob, what if we do it like this and this and that? And Rob is like, sure, but it's gonna take time. Like, you do you, And then he comes up with these awesome things.
Thank
I
you.
know it takes time, and I know it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, and every stroke matters, right? So I get that.
Absolutely.
But from someone who's not artistic at all, like I can't even draw a stick figure properly. Like it will go bad. I don't think I have that mental capacity to know how much hard work and dedication it actually is, right?
Some
So it's interesting.
yeah, for sure. What I notice a lot, and maybe on like this, I mean, this is definitely on the more like nerdier side of things. But I follow a lot of artists online and stuff. Like people upload their art on Twitter and show it off on Instagram and things like that. And and they also make their living by selling commissions. People will hire them, be like, draw this character, and then they go over the details, like, how elaborate is it, what how many how in depth am I getting with these colors, what kind of shading am I doing for this piece. Am I drawing a background? Are there more than one character? How complicated, how detailed are all these things? And some people are willing to go through that process, and others just kind of don't, like, they want something but they don't really know how to visualize it. And some people do know how to visualize it, but they still don't understand the concept of what kind of work goes into something like that, right? So they'll be like, well, you can just draw it in like 10 minutes. And it's like, no, this is going to take 6 hours plus,
Yeah.
And like some people are just like, they don't get it. They don't understand like what kind of time and energy goes into these pieces and stuff. And the same goes for animation. The same goes for any design work. It's time, energy, and costs money. So you have to pay for it, right? And people don't get it. It's really, like, how come you can't just do the job in 2 hours, half the time, and I'll give you half the money you requested, or even less than that? It's like, no, not a good deal.
Do impossible things, Rob. Come on, go for it.
Man, I already do the impossible. All right.
The thing about India also is we don't actually get paid by hour basis here. So it's not how many hours you work and how much you get paid for every hour. So I've seen like jobs actually like are rarely giving like a weekly income, like you get paid weekly. That's really rare here, and it's mostly monthly. And there is this labor class which actually is on daily wages, right? We have a minimum daily wage, and usually the regular laborers actually carry on with a daily wage. And it would be far more different if people would actually be paid for an hour, because sometimes we tend to get lazy on this part of the world, so they might charge you a lot more than you anticipate. So
Right. I'm not exactly sure. Well, maybe for this kind of work as well. But when it comes to, making art in general for money, some people go through other services that kind of organize that a little, right? For example, I've never used it, but there's websites such as Fiverr that exist.
Yeah.
Where people will, advertise their talents. They'll have examples of the kind of work that they can do, and they can get hired, and they have different amounts set for what kind of project they're doing and all that stuff. And if you look at the majority of these prices, they're very low, considering the kind of work that is being done for most of these people. And then what people don't realize is that, maybe, I don't know the exact percentage, but there's a percentage that doesn't even make it to the person who did the work. I think it might actually be 40 or 50% that goes straight to the website.
Wow.
Right?
That much?
Yeah. So if you're like charging, or I'm not sure if it's 50%. It might be 30%. Or 20. It's something. It's not over 50, but it's really high, right?
Okay.
absolutely.
I'd have to double check, but I remember just looking at it and just doing the math and being like, that's for this kind of detailed work, for like you're charging $10 and I know you're gonna barely make 6. That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's their choice to go through that kind of service because they might not get be in a better situation to do so, to get work.
I've actually seen many artists on Fiverr. So on this website, you usually have like people posting their work, and there is actually a bidding.
Oh, really?
So people bid. Like if someone puts out a contract that they need, for an example, they need interior views, like 10 views, and this is what they have. They have the plan ready. So people can actually bid, like the freelancers can actually bid on that, and like who is gonna like take it for the lowest amount of money. So that's like a gamble, right?
Yeah.
So people are putting in effort. So everybody is putting in effort, the same effort for everything, and who actually gets it is the one who posts the lowest price and the less time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the place where the art has no such meaning or value to it. It's just the price and the time, nothing else.
Yep. Time and money.
So that's how people are trying to get the projects on hand. And there are a lot of talented artists that I actually see, and their work is amazing. And if you actually see their reviews, like the customer reviews that they have had, they have so many people sitting on like the 5-star ratings.
Yeah.
And they absolutely do a phenomenal job in freelancing. But if I look at their prices, it's like they have 3 slabs, 3 or 4 slabs. Like this is a fixed rate. I do this at this rate, and if you wanted something extra, this is going to cost you that. And if you go for higher resolution or something like that, extra bonuses, this is what I do, and this is for a certain amount, and this is like a tier 3 slab kind of thing. So they have like fixed and flat rates on it, and I think so these guys actually they have like really huge number of projects being done there. So I don't know if they actually take like other projects elsewhere, but I see a lot of them there.
Yeah. And I just checked to make sure that I wasn't just, talking out of my butt. That website takes 20%.
20%. Okay.
20%, yeah.
But that's still, like if you're
it's a lot.
making $100, they're taking $20 from you, right?
$20.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're basically making that $80 for what? Like, okay, now it depends on what you're doing, right?
Right.
So I don't know. So I'm here talking from an outside perspective. I'm not knowledgeable like you guys, but for me, doing anything for $80 seems a bit cheap,
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, especially
You
if
should definitely visit this part of the world too.
yeah,
You're either going far east or west, so just make a stop like close to Middle East, bro.
I'll make a stop next time I go to Japan, which will be very soon. I'll take a stop right next to you. We'll have some good curry.
Like,
huh?
Let's go.
Like I'm just thinking about it, like, so let's say if you were going to do some design piece, right, for $100 on Fiverr, and they take 20% of it, right, and like, bath, you're making $80, right? If you're using a program, for example, like Adobe Photoshop, you're probably I mean, there's ways to get around it, but you're probably paying a subscription for that, and that subscription's like $60 a month. So you just made $20. Congratulations for something you just like, busted your ass over. It's not totally fair. Like, I get it, they're helping people with like, to get out there, to be seen and do stuff, but I feel like there's got to be a point, if you are using these kinds of sites, to make your own name and move away from it, right?
I think that's it. Yeah,
might be good to start off, but you can't have a career on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't actually like build a career, but it might actually be like a stepping stone for you, or maybe it's a startup thing that you have to do to gain recognition at least, or maybe to build a client base, right? And they might actually build a contact with you or have a business relationship with you outside of that, and maybe when you start your own thing, then you would actually have those clients with you. I think so. It's actually a good platform for starters, and honestly, freelancers aren't respected like in any industry you take it.
Nope.
So it's basically like you're just a free guy, dude. Like Ryan Reynolds, free guy kind of. So,
Good movie.
Still need to see it.
So, yeah.
Haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
We are just like, if I'm a freelancer, I'm basically like an NPC, dude. That's it. I have no respect.
Right.
Everybody can just like run over the vehicles and just mash you up and go on.
Imagine being an NPC. Awful. Terrible.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. So.
For those who don't know, some of the older people watching, NPC means non-player character. It means you're not a main character in the story, you're some side character, right?
Yeah. So usually in games, the quest givers, the ones that stand there all day, talk to, those are NPCs.
Yeah.
So,
hunt 20 boar and come back. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. No.
All right. So, very interesting. Great. But there's some things I want to get into. So, we know you're from India, so you have great food just in general. I'm very excited to go someday and visit and eat all the food, especially the garlic naan, just gonna say.
I had some like yesterday. I couldn't resist.
You didn't have to say that, Rob. You've disappointed that man already.
You see what he does to me? You see what he does? I'm just here, being all culturally acceptant and being like, okay, Rob, everything is fine. Then he goes and tells me he eats garlic naan without me. That's fine. Okay, that's no problem. So we've eaten Indian food in Japan. So Rob and I and Diane, who's usually here, have gone and eaten Indian food. So I think most Indian food around the world is, they change it to maybe So the local populace would, because everyone has different taste buds, right? So I guess people are gonna be different. Um, for me, I just love spicy food. So anything that's spicy, I just give it to me. Just throw it at me. I'll eat it. Um, so that's why I've told Faizan before. Like I would definitely love to go to India and just eat all the good food. Especially home cooking. That's my favorite kind of food. I love home cooking, and the way things are done at home versus restaurants, except for yakiniku. Have you heard of yakiniku, Faizan? It's a Japanese wonder of meat, right? Um, so it's basically a grill on the table. They bring you meat, and then you start grilling, and you eat with like different
Different
salads and
sauces
and sauces and everything. Yeah, Rob puts a
I,
picture here.
I want to challenge people who watch our podcasts, which should be everyone, just saying. But go back, listen to all the podcasts. I want to see a count of how many times Elia has brought up yakiniku through our podcasts. I just want
Every
to
episode.
every episode.
Every
It's
episode,
tradition at
probably.
this point.
It's gonna be every episode. Like the thing is, when I think about Japanese food, like most people think sushi, sashimi, a lot of different food, like ramen, whatever. For me, my
Usually
brain
fish
goes
and noodles.
directly to yakiniku, like
You,
directly
you should start clickbaiting people with that thumbnail, dude.
yakiniku and Ilya. Let's go.
Forget our faces. It's just gonna be close-ups of yakiniku on the thumbnails, and that'll be
I
it.
would
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I would love it. It's gonna be great. All right, so I want to jump into some English stuff in India. All right. So, as everyone might know right now, we're all speaking English. It's a wonderful language in its own sense. Sometimes not.
Absolutely.
But like in India, like how widely is English used? Because for those people who don't know, India was a colony for a long time for the British people, and I guess the language is mixed up, but there's a lot of English. So what is it like? Like how widely used is it?
Oh well, I would say it is one of the most spoken, written language in India because you know how vast Indian population is, right?
Yes.
So the most spoken language in India is Hindi, and officially, like India doesn't have an official language, like a national language. So we have like various languages, like regional languages. It's like a melting pot for languages in India. So, but if we see the history and how the colonization was done and how we gained our independence, and after that, like up until now, if we see, English has always been playing a major part. So we had like schools, colleges, and everything built by the British even before they actually left India. So following the same trend and culture, and it has been passed on for generations. And uh, English is really important, right, for like the global trade and everything. It's like it's a part of our daily lives. So for me personally, ever since I joined school, like from the kindergarten, I've been learning English. English has been like a second language, like in every part of the country, like most parts of the country, English is like a secondary language, which uh, every textbook, apart from my mother tongue or the regional language, everything is in English. Whatever I've studied, it's in English. So English is like a really big part. And if you see, most of the Indians can actually speak English, right? Everybody's into English, although they don't actually communicate locally much. But if you actually, if I meet a person who does not speak my regional language, but I have like a global language that is a universal language to for him to understand, and a way for me to communicate with him, it's like English is the key. it's the second most spoken language in India. So yeah, it plays a huge part.
Mm.
You heard it here first, folks. From someone that wasn't us.
True. We always talk about the importance of English, right? Like we
Yeah.
say it is probably or most likely the most important language right now. And some might say, well, in the future it might change. There's some debates about that, but we don't live in the future. We live right now. So all I can say is English is a great language.
Yeah.
You can use it everywhere. So this is my next question, actually. If
Mhm.
just me, Elia here,
Okay.
I fly over to India, can I survive on English alone? Just English, and I'm talking not. I'm not gonna talk to these small people. I'm talking about shops, malls, restaurants, cabs. The tourist stuff. Would I be able to survive properly with English?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll be able to survive that. But if you are gonna be a resident in India for maybe say like a couple of months, right? Like 3 months, you might still get away with that, and you might actually learn a word or two about the regional language and how to like communicate with a person who isn't actually an English speaker. But you will actually survive in India with English. Like if you're a tourist, you will have no difficulty. Any person, it's like we have so many people, dude. Like we have so many
Yeah,
people. If you step outside, you'll actually meet 1,000 people, and
Hmm.
dude,
yeah,
the ratio is so high that the people actually are educated in English. So somebody will guide you through. So you will have no
absolutely.
difficulty if you're coming to India.
There is something very comforting about that like, because there's just so many people, like, someone's bound to understand you, right? You're not gonna really necessarily get lost, per se. Um,
Yep.
and
Unless you actually end up in a village, like a very rural area
oh, okay.
where you don't have like people who are like well educated in English, but rather they are pretty educated in their own regional languages. So yeah, you might actually find a little difficulty out there, but in the cities, no.
Mhm. Um,
Mm.
what about so we know that India is very large, and there's we were talking about multiple languages, and that you said the main one was Hindi, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Now, being someone, from India who's lived there most of your life, I imagine.
Yep, absolutely.
So, do you understand and recognize all the nuances between the different regional like languages that come across? Like, or is there anything that ever stumps you or you find that strange? Like, for example, in Japan, there's like Tokyo Japanese, and then there's Japanese that you'd use in Okinawa, and
Yeah.
and someone from Okinawa talking Japanese to someone from Tokyo, they might miscommunicate or not understand each other right away because of these differences. Is it similar to for you at all, or are you just like, I'm around it all the time, I understand everything?
There are actually different dialects of each language,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because it actually differs from region to region. So,
Right.
uh, the state I am from, we have a regional language here called Kannada. It's called Kannada, like Canada, but it's like with K and
Right.
KANNADA. So it's Kannada.
Canada. Okay.
Kannada. So that's our regional language. But if you actually see in our state, and we have different cities, right? And the northern part of the state actually has a different dialect compared to the south. So you might actually hear Kannada, but in a different tone, or just like you said, Okinawa has a different one, different Japanese than like not different, but they have a different nuance to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Compared
the
to the
accents.
Tokyo one. So
Mm.
yes, we do have those dialects. Like let me say, my mother tongue is Urdu, You know Urdu, right?
I know that. Yeah.
The language Urdu it's derived from Persian and Arabic.
Oh, okay, okay.
So Urdu language is my mother tongue, and how I speak here is called Dakhni Urdu. It means like in Urdu, the word Deccan. Deccan is for South India, like the Deccan Plateau. So the Deccan Plateau and the word Deccan in Urdu is Dakhni. We call it Dakhni. So that is how it's from the south. The Urdu is from south. That means Dakhni Urdu. It's from the south, from the Deccan Plateau region. So in the north, you have Lucknowi Urdu. Lucknow, the place Lucknow, the city, is very famous for its poets in Urdu. Like they have so many singers, like Sufi singers, and a lot of artists from Lucknow. Or they actually speak Lucknowi Urdu. So that's like the purest form of Urdu that you can actually hear from a Lucknowi. Then actually hearing someone from my city, it's like we have like our own adaptation of the same language, and it's spoken differently compared to how it is in the north. So we do have those nuances.
But would you understand each other if you spoke your regional languages?
Absolutely. I might actually be able to understand them, and they might actually find it hard to understand us, because we have made it our own version, right, down in the south.
Wow.
But that is the purest form. That is why I said it's the purest form. So I can understand it, but they can't actually they might actually understand, but not completely of how I speak my language.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something quite similar in Europe. So like Swedish and so on is a Germanic language. So it has roots in there. But for me, if I speak, so I know a friend, she's German. When we talk to each other, like there's nothing in common. Like there's maybe words here and there that we can understand. Even a close language like Danish or Norwegian, like they understand us, like Swedish people, more than we understand them. Especially Danish. Danish is such a difficult language to understand. Even if I read it, I'll be fine. I understand what they're saying. But when we speak, it's like a totally different language. It's like it's not even an accent anymore. It's like a different language itself. And it's interesting to see how these different countries but I would get it from India. It's such a large place, so it would be really weird if you didn't have different accents and so on. Like even in the US, just go to the south and like it'll be some differences in the accents, words, slang. It's a big place. It's normal.
It's a big place, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
we
you
can confuse each other.
Differentiate.
Mhm.
Differentiate between like someone from the west coast to the east coast, like, or maybe you're just speaking to someone from New Mexico or maybe in Texas. Just like compare them, and it's like you wouldn't be able to figure out what exactly is happening, right?
I mean, yeah, it can vary from state to state,
Yeah.
I may have mentioned this before, just depending on how we release these, but like I'm from New York, but I went to school in Boston, and you have like the Boston accent, right? Depending on where you are and stuff, and like how long they grew up there and things like that. But then there's just like different words for things too. Like I could go into like an ice cream shop, and I'd say I'd like a milkshake, and then they're like, a milk what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's a universal thing. Everyone knows what a milkshake is. And they're like, we call them fraps here. And then I start fighting the guy because I have to argue, like, frap is a coffee drink. You can't do that to me. Right? And they're like, no, it's milk and it's blended with ice cream. And I'm like, yeah, it's called a milkshake, buddy. Anyway. So you get stuff like that. And like that's also in the Northeast, right above me. So it's like, I don't know. We just make stuff up. Yeah.
I don't think Swedish has such a big difference. We have accent differences, right, between Stockholm, where I'm from, and the south, which is closer to Denmark, which makes them more difficult to understand for me, maybe. But so usually, there's a lot of differences. But from what I've taken away from this conversation is that if I go to India, I can eat curry with using English. So there we go.
That's
So
the most
for
important
everyone,
thing.
That's the only thing I listened to. Everything else went like, because I heard yes, English curry. I was like, I'm done. I'm on my way to India right now.
Gotcha.
Book me my ticket. Let's go. Um, I'm ready to go. So okay, what about the English language? So we know that there are different regional languages in India and so on, but is there regional differences in English as well? Like, do you say one region very good at English? Well, we know the countryside, maybe the smaller villages don't speak that well, but with let's say two big cities, would the English be different there?
It depends. Like, you can find my tone, like the way I speak English is like you can actually feel that you're talking to an Indian. But if you go more towards the south, like my own side of where I live, you can actually feel that strong Indian tone to it, Indian accent to it. So, but the northerners have a different accent in English compared to the south. So south is more rigid, and it's like really you can get that strong feeling. So yeah, there is a difference in that, and I'm really not trying to like divide or classify them, but yeah, there is a difference. I have felt that personally. So yeah.
Okay. That's interesting, because what I was thinking is that India having so much history in English, you might see some, you know, maybe slang, or maybe some words are very different to what for example, in Japanese, they make up words that are not really English, right? They sound English because the words they're using are English, but they're not English at all. So for example, high five in Japanese is high touch.
I forgot about that one.
Or yeah, and for example, what's that? Like
But to run, like when the kids are like run, they're like dash dash. They say dash,
yeah,
which isn't natural
tell people to
sounding.
dash.
Like
Yeah.
We have so many things about it, and we pretty much call it like Hinglish.
Yeah.
It's a mix of Hindi and English, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just say like, what are you doing? Someone would say like, time pass.
Time pass.
Time pass?
What is time pass?
Yeah.
What is time pass?
Like,
time pass is like,
what are you doing to pass the time? Yeah.
I'm just laying around. I'm just idle. I'm doing nothing. It's like time pass.
Oh, okay.
So, we would do that, and we would also say like, how is it going? Is this really good? Then someone would say like 100%. Like it means absolute, like 100% or 200% or maybe 1000%. It's like 100%. It is identical kind of thing. If you look at this object and you look at this object, how do you describe them? Then it's like 100%. So it means like they are identical, like twins. So we use those words. And, yeah, it actually is. We have our own version of like those words, and like sometimes if someone actually gets like really dramatic, you're being really filmy. Filmy is like you are being dramatic. FILMI.
Oh, okay.
Filmy.
Oh, interesting.
You are being in a film. You're dramatic.
Okay.
Really, like you're acting kind of thing. So.
Okay.
That's actually my part 2 of my question. Now that you say film me, so I'm not really a big Bollywood watcher, but I've seen some movies. I've
seen some clips.
Yeah. But from like, I don't know if it's normal, but maybe it's just Bollywood. But when they speak in these movies, it's like 4 words of whatever Indian language. I don't know if it's Hindi. I'm not really very knowledgeable, but then it's like 3 or 4 English words, and then they continue in whatever language, right? And they just continue like that. So like half the sentence is in English, and the other half is in Hindi. I'm guessing. I'm not really sure what language it is. Do people speak like that in general, or is it just like a Bollywood thing?
So the thing is, like I said, English is an integral part in India in like the way people communicate. So even in my house, like with my family, I end up speaking in English at times, right? Because a message has to be sent and the other should receive it. So it's like if you actually take that Bollywood reference, like in every Bollywood movie, like except if it is on the basis of like culture or a regional thing, they don't include English. But there are so many words that we use in our language, which is English word, and it is still Hindi, but it is still English. So
Okay.
so in Bollywood, you can actually hear a song, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, get on the dance floor, booty shake, something like that, and it is followed by like a Hindi version of it, right? So there is always like Bollywood movies with most of the Hindi and English mixture, because I don't think so, dude. In today's day, apart from like a really regional movie with all the people in it, and I'm pretty sure that they can actually make a movie without English in it in India. Like a Bollywood movie is incomplete if it doesn't have English in it. It's like English is so important. It's not for any other viewer base. For an example, it's not outside India, but for Indians. But
Wow.
for Indians, you need to have that level of English in that particular movie or a song, something like that. And not a song, but maybe in a movie it exists. So my conclusion in this is like we are accustomed and we are really very dependent in India on English, and it's a really important language for us for our daily lives and for most of our work and everything. And honestly, me studying in an English school from my kindergarten to primary, the elementary in the West. So elementary school, the higher school, the higher secondary, and the college and everything was in English. So, but my personal English improvement actually came from like video games. That's a change factor for me. And I used to read a lot of comics, English comics, when I was like in my teenage years. And then after then, I'm not really much into reading. After then, it was just like video games for me. I used to play a lot, and I've learned English, and my English, whatever on whichever level I am, it's because I give most credit to my teachers. Like I have a lot of respect to my teachers who have like helped me study through from the childhood until now. Whatever I am is because of them and my efforts. So I would really like to thank my teachers wherever they are. And some have like passed away as well. Their souls rest in peace. But yeah, I give credit to all my teachers who have helped me throughout, and all these video games that I've played, all these English movies that I've watched. They absolutely like helped me go through it. But the first stage is always the teachers. It comes into the picture for me as a teacher is the best person who will actually help you learn something. And of course, the more friends you have who actually are helping you learn a language, and I would definitely tell that to everyone. Like start to communicate, talk to people, get the material, get the books, try to learn. And I don't think so English is complicated. Like it's one of the most easiest languages I feel to learn.
Oh wow. Is it similar to how, like, because I think it might depend where in the world you are and how easily accessible it is and how many people you can talk to with English. Like, for example, many Japanese people consider English to be super difficult because it's just so different grammatic to English. And I'm curious where, like, I know that you have a lot of English around you, like you said, movies, games, and other people,
That's true.
teachers, right? But how about as far as comparing Hindi and English, like, grammatically, like the order of operation, kind of like where you have your verbs and adjectives, like how is is the structure completely different, or is it actually similar in some ways?
I could say it's different than English. It's not the same. Maybe
Okay.
because from the English alphabet to the Hindi alphabet, like you might find the same pronunciations here and there.
Mhm.
In a few letters, you might find the same pronunciation, but the adjectives, the verbs, no, there is not much relation to that.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I was just curious because
Well-
I literally know not much about the Hindi as a language, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. But one thing.
I don't find much relation to it.
But the thing is, we did learn one thing today, is that, first of all, English is very important, and you should learn it, you know. So if you're looking for a school, let us know, hit us up. Um,
We
but-
will be ready.
we will be ready for you. Let's go. Yeah. But no, in all honesty, you know, English is a very important language overall to know and to speak. So just if you look at the three of us, you know, an American, a Swedish kind of, and an Indian guy, you know, we're just sitting in a, you know, in a fun talk here, having, you know, some good conversations in the English language. So, you know, it brings people together, and it's very, very good. For example, there's a big initiative right now in Japan to, you know, help people learn English, make them more, because there's this stigma in Japan where English is scary, right? And it's not supposed to be scary. You know, there's English everywhere, and everyone's learning it. So, you know, you can do it. You know, it'll be fine.
I mean, it's pretty common to see that, like, because we have a history, right?
Yeah.
We have a long history, and through that, there is a stigma that is developed and like infused upon others, like as to why.
Yeah.
But they don't actually realize until it is absolutely necessary that you have to actually do something about it.
Yeah.
So just like even if you take Philippines for an example, right? They didn't actually had to like focus much on English before, but now they do. They do have, like, just like India, they have so many call centers based in like Philippines, and there is so much work from the Western countries and other countries, like even from the Middle East, is coming to like Philippines. They are outsourcing it.
Yeah.
So they actually need people to learn English in order to actually have that middle ground, so that they can reach to the other consumers on the other side. So yeah, English is very, very important. Like it's the global language. So.
Yes. I think it's very important, especially for you if you're young and you're listening to this and you want to move abroad, or, you know, want to work or study or whatever. The first step is always the language. You know, you can never get away from that, unfortunately. Speaking and, you know, being able to listen and understanding everyone around you is very, very important. Most jobs, you know, when you apply, the requirement is English. It doesn't matter what you are, you know, you're looking for. If you're moving to a Western country, most likely you'll be fine with English. Like in Sweden, you can speak English to anyone and everyone will answer in English. It's not that difficult. So it'll be fine. So, English, good, learn. It's very important. If you do have any questions about English, you want to know more, about us, hit us up on our socials. I do want to thank Faizan so much for joining us today.
Welcome, dude.
Honestly,
It was a pleasure, talking to you and Rob. It was really a fun and learning experience as well, how things are, in our culture and in the cultures abroad. And it's good to know that I'm actually learning a few things about Japan and how things are there. So, yeah,
That's
I would
good.
definitely advise people, if they are looking to learn English, make sure they actually go ahead and put this effort and choose the right direction for them, so that it is actually helpful. It's not gonna let them down. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is very important. And so, as I said, please, if you guys have any questions for us, hit us up on our socials. Faizan, we'll put all your socials in the description down below. If you guys want some interior design made, whatever, this guy, hit him up. Honestly, I've seen his work. He's very humble. He'll probably say no, but he has great work. He's very dedicated and talented. So please hit him up.
Check him out, hire him, pay him appropriately. Thank you.
Pay
Thank
him
you.
properly. Yeah.
Thank you,
You
guys.
know.
Thank you. You guys are awesome at promotion. Thank you.
Not at all. You're promoting yourself. Honestly, just ask him for what he's done. He'll show you. I've seen it. It's great, especially if you love that Scandinavian feel. He's really good at it. Forget IKEA, even though IKEA is really good. This guy's better. So hit him up. Let us know if you have any questions or you want us to bring Faizan back onto a future episode. Write down your questions. We'll ask him. We'll talk about it. And check his social out. Hit him
Alright,
up.
and make sure, if you want some Indian curry recipes as well, I can come on to the next episode and help you out with some curries. Yeah,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Do you want the
Yeah.
garlic naan, my friend?
I would love garlic naan. So next episode with Faizan is gonna be in India. I'm just saying, we're gonna sit around the table.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
right.
some
Sure.
curry.
Why not?
It's gonna be
You're
great.
most welcome. Yeah, we should do it, and definitely you should get Rob along with you, because
Definitely.
just because this man had garlic naan yesterday,
I need to compare.
He can have it. Yeah, of course.
Need to compare.
He can have another round in India.
Yeah.
Authentic.
True. So Rob and I will meet you in India soon. Sorry, Diane, you're not invited. Sorry, it's not. I didn't say it. Faizan said it, so I'm just saying.
Dan, you are also welcome. Please
Yeah.
feel free to join along with your team, and you guys are mostly welcome.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. All our socials will be on here and in the box below. So check them out, and we'll see you next time. This was us. Thanks for
Thank
watching.
you, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye bye.